I mean, collaboration is a beautiful thing. There's no need to try and recreate the wheel or try and do things that you're not specialized in. Even at this year's Tribal Chic, there was a lot of collaboration with maybe accessory designers and clothing designers, which was a beautiful merge.
When someone talks about business or fashion in Africa, what do you understand to you?
Wow. I don't know. I think I would say Africa to the world. I think for a long, long time, we never looked at the continent as a place to be inspired with fashion. But I think right now we're really owning.
Why don't Kenya have like national fabric as we know Ankara in Ghana or some other Africa? What's the problem?
I mean, we do have the less of the kanga, but I think there have been challenges with doing local production, especially when it comes to quality fibers, like having your cottons, your linens. And it's due to a lot of different factors. It could be, the climate change, so therefore it's hard to have... Well, when it comes to fashion shows, there are so many. They're all very, very diverse. I've had the honor of being on different stages and platforms. Man, I think every single fashion show in Nairobi is very diverse. There are so many different types of fashion shows, but we heavily depend on good lighting. Because lighting creates the ambiance, it creates the feel, it creates the mood. Whether you're there physically present, it enables you to see maybe the texture of a garment or the finishing or the silhouette. With bad lighting, you can't tell a proper story, because even after the fashion show, for people that weren't able to attend, we heavily rely on our camera personnel to really share the story of African fashion.
Greetings, dear fashion lovers, enthusiasts, and businesses. Welcome to Made in Africa podcast, season 2. Today, it's a very special day. As you can see, we have a guest here. Let me give a guess. So, is the guest with no introduction in the fashion industry in Kenya, Angela Wambui, the top fashion MC. Angela, how are you doing today?
I'm well, thank you. I'm really excited to be here for the Made in Africa podcast. Thank you for the invite.
Thank you. Can you introduce us and tell the fashion lovers who are you before we dig in today's topic, please?
Sure. My name is Angela Wambui. I have been, a media personality for many, many years. That's what most people know me as. I am a fashion MC, as you said. I've been, on the runway, off the runway, behind the scenes. I'm a fashion enthusiast at large. And I am also a co-founder for Sister Speaks Global and the Heels for Pads Foundation.
Thank you very much, Wambui. Dear listeners and viewers, as you can see, our today's guest is so vibrating, and we're so happy to have you. And so, ladies and gentlemen, today's episode is a very special episode as we are live. As you have been, we've been producing many contents in audio, but today we have a visual. You can see us. So, me and Angela today, we have a very special topic, that is Kenya Fashion Review 2025 and what to expect in 2026. So as today's, we are marking a new chapter for our viewers for Made in Africa podcast. Me and Angela, we have scheduled 12 questions, 8 questions about Kenya Fashion Review 2025. And the second part is what to expect in 2026. So, Angela, before we dig in,
Yes.
When someone talks about fashion business in Africa or business or fashion in Africa, what do you understand to you?
Wow. I don't know. I think I would say Africa to the world. I think for a long, long time, we never looked at the continent as a place to be inspired with fashion. But I think right now we're really owning our heritage, our culture, and the impact and the influence that we have on the world. So I'd say Africa is right now, when it comes to fashion and business in Africa. You can see a lot of fashion platforms, like, we see a lot of Grammy and red carpet events happening in the US. But now, for example, when they're doing fashion reviews, you'll see a lot of Nigerian designers getting recognition for their creativity and their innovation on the red carpet. We're realizing we don't have to look to the outside world. But also in the same breath, I see a lot of gaps, when it comes to creativity and maybe the business of fashion. I see such immense talent across Kenya, but sometimes our creatives lack maybe the support or the funding or the guidance or particular structures to make the business part run. But in terms of the talent and the potential, it's there 100%.
Thank you very much. So, viewers and listeners, as you can see, Wambui is in it to win it and is nailing it. Thank you, Wambui,
Thank you.
for your input. So, Angela, it's a very interesting your input, business of fashion in Africa, because as you mentioned, we look at country to country, we look at the culture, we look at the big investment, we look at the fabrics. Before we go there, why don't Kenya have like national fabric as we know Ankara in Ghana or some other Africa? What's the problem?
I mean, we do have the less of the kanga, but I think there have been challenges with doing local production, especially when it comes to quality fibers, like having your cottons, your linens. And it's due to a lot of different factors. It could be, the climate change. So therefore, it's hard to have consistent production of certain materials. I know that we do tend to get things from TZ, but like locally, we do a lot of importing. I'd say probably there's less than 45% of local production of raw materials or raw textile, let's say textiles. But still, Kenya, we heavily rely on materials being imported from whether it's China, Turkey, India. But also it becomes pricey, like producing raw materials and purchasing, because it's not that industry is not so huge. It becomes pricey as well. And at the end of the day, you'll see a lot of our designers that sell things, but locally things only move within a certain price range. So I think that's some of the challenges with the raw materials.
That's very interesting. Actually, that brings me to our next, to the next topic, that is the fashion designers and raw material. Angela, 2025, as we're talking about Kenya Fashion Review 2025, we have seen many local fashion designers still creating, still exhibiting, looking raw material to you. How do you see raw material access? Are we still facing the same problems as we've been facing 3 years ago, as many fashion designers, they see lack of having access on raw material in Kenya?
Definitely. I think access is the main issue. You do have, more of the well-established brands that really are super intentional about even producing their own textiles, which take time, which takes effort. When I think of a brand like Kiko Romeo, they are very intentional about creating their own textiles, doing their own dyeing process, and creating their own patterns. I've seen fashion schools also really help, like McKensel School of Fashion and Design. They do have like a course segment where they teach students how to create their own textiles, which, in the big picture of things, when you want things to move quickly and whatnot, maybe it's not the most ideal. So I think access, cost, and what it takes to actually produce local materials is a challenge still. Not impossible, but it does take money to make those things happen.
Actually, that brings me to the this, which will go in later. Why do made in Africa fashion are so expensive? So, Angela, we cannot talk about fashion raw material without talking about fashion shows. Let's talk about lighting and event management, because these are also what the gateway for fashion designers to get promoted. And without fashion shows, we don't know how many designers we have in Kenya. So, to you, looking at the events, writing, event management, 2025, how was the event? You have been MC in many events. Give us overview. How was it? Was it good? Was it bad? What was 2025 is fashion shows and lighting and management.
Okay. Well, when it comes to fashion shows, there are so many. They're all very, very diverse. I've had the honor of being on different stages and platforms. And each fashion show has their own angle. We have like Nairobi Fashion Week that happens in the first quarter of the year. They're heavy focused on decarbonization. Man, I think every single fashion show in Nairobi is very diverse. There are so many different types of fashion shows, but we heavily depend on good lighting, because lighting creates the ambiance, it creates the feel, it creates the mood. Whether you're there physically present, it enables you to see maybe the texture of a garment or the finishing or the silhouette. With bad lighting, you can't tell a proper story, because even after the fashion show, for people that weren't able to attend, we heavily rely on our camera personnel to really share the story of African fashion, Kenyan fashion. And I think lighting, whether it's stage lighting, whether it's the camera lighting, it is a cornerstone of us being able to document this journey.
So while we are staying there, 2025, which events top 3 stand out on lighting? You can like these events, lighting was maybe not 100%, but lighting was good.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Okay, that's a hard question, because I don't think of myself as a lighting
Actually,
expert.
I want to say this for fashion lovers and viewers. When you talk about Kenya Fashion Review 2025 and what to expect, we are not judging, we are just talking.
Right.
Yes.
I think I'm just going to speak from the different platforms or different events that I've been a part of. One of them being Nairobi Fashion Week, that was held the beginning of the year in January. And based on the pictures that I saw coming out, I would say the lighting was well done, because you have a main runway. It's eye level, so people are not too high up or too low. And it was a full house. So whether you were on the left side, the front side, or the center stage, everyone was able to experience and see each of the models. And I think the way they structured the stage, it's like to make sure that the center runway is the main area for photographers to be, and also the main area of lighting. So, I mean, based on the photos, I will say the lighting was good for what was needed. Yes. So it was a very simple setup, but the camera quality of the photos that came out were nice.
And Tribal Chic?
Tribal Chic,
Eco Fashion Week?
Okay, so I will speak on Tribal Chic. Tribal Chic also, they really invest heavily in their stage and the setup of their stage, creating something that is very theatrical and themed. Every single year, Tribal Chic focuses on having a very specific theme. For 2026, for example, their theme was the 4 elements. So that's featuring water, earth, wind, and fire, the 4 elements that create the earth and the... And I really do appreciate the creativity that they put into their sets. They also are very specific about the types of photographers that they bring in. So, they bring photographers that are well-versed, that know how to work with the different lighting. And yeah, I would say based on the photos that I've seen coming out of Tribal Chic, it's a mix of the experience of your photographers and also the lighting of your stage. So it's not lighting that's too harsh or too loud, but really they focus a lot on the ambiance of the stage and the theme.
Go ahead, yeah.
No, I had nothing else to say.
Thank you very much. Actually, talking about the lighting, we cannot ignore audience vibrating, participating. How do you see the audience for last year audience and timing? Some audience, they like you start too late. To you as the MC who have been there, how did you see the audience involving, and how did you see the time management?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, when it comes to African timing, it's an issue that is always and forever there. But I'm very proud to say that I've seen an improvement over time as fashion events evolve. I see people respecting the art, respecting the time, respecting the space. But I also think it's also about event management and how you intentionally create the entire experience. The runway is not the only experience. You have to think from a consumer's point of view, from a guest point of view, from the time you arrive and you check in with your ticket, what are guests doing there? Some of those, of course we have challenges like traffic, which is always there. We might have weather issues like rain or things that prevent people from showing up on time. So it's always been a very delicate balance of either saying the time ahead of time, making sure you give that 2-hour time gap to allow people to be late so that the formal program, if you're saying 5 o'clock, the formal program will start at 7. But even maybe for those that actually show up at 5 p.m., what experiential things do you have for them? Is it like the red carpet, a time for people to get photos taken? Are there welcome drinks for guests to be welcomed and mingle and network? So making sure that there are activities before the main show, I think is very, very key to respecting those that show up on time, but also leaving a bit of grace period for those that are still trying to get through traffic and whatnot. But I think most fashion shows these days, compared to like maybe let's say a decade ago, you don't find the time gap being too large. So for example, even Tribal Chic this year, the formal program was to start at 7, and by 6:45 we were calling people to their seats. It was already a full house. So I think also it's how you communicate your brand and communicate the messages to your guest. Communication is key.
Okay. So while we are here, I wanted to emphasize this too. If you are a new or upcoming fashion show organizers, you better stick on that. Light is the most important. Without light, nothing happens, because I also talk about lighting. Make it white light, because fashion show is not a nightclub. So if you, because it is.
That's true. You'll see some people trying to get a little too creative. I mean, you can never be limited in your creativity. Of course, there's blue lights, red lights, but sometimes when it's too much, you're overshadowing the model. And imagine putting on these shows takes a team effort. So you have your glam squad backstage, you have the makeup artists, you have the hairstylists, you have our amazing models that are really representing and lighting up the runway. But without the proper lighting, you cannot see them.
Yeah. So if you are listening this episode, you better work on lighting. Angela, thank you very much. And talking about event management, lighting, you can also see there's something I want to bring there. Some people, they're like, you are telling us you are bringing international designers, but you are bringing international who live in Kenya, and then someone is from US. Maybe you tell us how you think, because you are like, this event, a BCD event is happening. We're having 10 designers, 5 local, 5 international. When you look at the list, you'll find among those international, even some of them, they started doing designing here. So why do you think fashion organizers need to tell the audience they have more international to attract them? Is it worth it?
I mean, I don't think I focus on that too much. Again, at the end of the day, it's about the message that you're trying to get across. I know you also want diversity. Of course, we're celebrating homegrown talent, but also just showing the diversity of what Kenya can do and who Kenya can attract, using fashion as a platform for tourism as well. So if it does mean having someone who is a different descent, maybe they're not from the continent, maybe they're not from Kenya, but they're from a different country, they live here now, maybe they picked up fashion, but they also help us tap into a different audience. At the end of the day, they still do have their roots planted elsewhere, and it still attracts a different audience. So I think it's more so about creating traction and more visibility and collective efforts of telling our story. I don't see it as a bad thing, as long as we're making sure that we are still giving priority to our homegrown talent.
Okay. So for fashion lovers and enthusiasts who have been worrying about that question of, if they say international, expect someone from New York who live there. Expect someone who probably live and work in Kenya, but also international. I agree there.
I mean,
inclusive is something...
Yeah, we've had, I mean, even I'll say for the recently concluded Tribal Chic, which just happened 2 weeks ago, so that's why I'm referring to it. We had a designer from Barbados, and this was a partnership with the Barbados tourism platform. So they brought a designer all the way from Barbados, and basically celebrating and sharing Kenyan culture, Barbados culture. We had a designer from Colombia, so designers from all over. Even in some of the other fashion shows, Nairobi Fashion Week, there are designers from other countries as well. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but I think it's nice to also show that Kenya, we can do things at global standard as well. I think that's the messaging when we include other international designers. They want to come here to showcase. We're trying to build Nairobi as a fashion capital.
Nairobi is a fashion capital. Actually, that brings it to another question, another line. 2025, we have seen modeling is growing up in Kenya. But someone is like, can anybody be a model? Let's ask that question before we continue.
Honestly, if you know Achieng Oguto, she's someone that is plus size. She's someone, that is a bald woman, but she is a bold woman. She does not necessarily fit the stereotype of what we imagine a model to be when you hear the word model or high fashion. But this lady has been on the cover of Sports Illustrated. She's gone to, I mean, the most prestigious award shows and really just exemplifies you can be whatever you want to be in this life, honestly. Yeah.
Okay. So sticking to that, you can be whoever you want to be in this world. There are ladies and gentlemen who are watching this episode who are there. They are curvy, beautiful, curvy like you. And they are like, when you go to casting, they do casting for skinny girls and they are not picked. Why do you think 2025, do you think 2025 was inclusivity in terms of models? An event I've been seeing, you mentioned Tribal Chic. There's so many events happened. So how do you see inclusivity in terms of size, short, taller, bigger in terms of modeling in Kenya?
I think as time evolves, the beauty of social media is that we, the people, take the power back in our hands. I think historically, when we think of high fashion, when we think of runway, there were very stringent and rigid requirements to be a model. You know, you have to be above the height of 5'9". You must be fair skinned. You must be, you know, looking like a pencil. But over time, you see like...
I love that. Looks like a pencil.
But over time, we actually are redefining, we as Africans, we as women, we're redefining what beauty is. And, you know, culturally, being in the motherland, being curvy, having hips, it's considered beauty. Maybe internationally or according to other cultures, that's not considered beautiful.
Okay.
But I think it's all about defining your own definition of beauty. So I would say in Kenya, as time goes on, I'm seeing a lot more inclusivity. There was a recently concluded L'Oreal runway, which was held in honor of International Women's Day. And on that runway, we saw, you know, a lot of inclusivity in terms of shapes, sizes, height. I think one of the shortest models might have been around 4'11" or shorter. But this is a strong message to say that the message for L'Oreal was walk your worth and telling women like you are worthy, you are enough. And I thought that was such a beautiful and very empowering message, especially as we're in the month of honoring women.
Okay. That's a very exciting input as actually we honor women. When was the International Women's Day?
On the 8th of March, and that happens every single year.
Okay. Okay. So happy International Women's Day once again. It is still not too far to say
and we don't just celebrate women on one day. We celebrate women every day. Yes.
That's very exciting. So talking about the inclusivity, I agree with you. And this is also a time to share to those who organize events. We have many modeling agencies in Kenya. Then you find some of modeling agencies, managers, they're focusing on go picking, casting, skinny models. It's time for you guys to inclusive or make inclusivity, because actually what you said, even in Tribal Chic, the last edition, the last collection, there was this very huge curvy lady who was wearing something that. So yeah, I think inclusivity, that's really change modeling industry, and we can also see many girls representing Kenya. Looking at the models, there is a payment. I'm not sure if you knew what they get paid in 2025, but to you who has been there, how do you see payment in the fashion industry? Is it for models? Is it worth it? Because models spend so much. Some of them they're like, I haven't not eaten. I wake up in the morning. It's a day of the show. I get there, have nothing. So how do you see respect they give to models and their payment in Kenya 2025?
I still think as a industry, we still have a long way to go. You know, modeling, whether it's modeling or pageants or whatever, you know, not everything that glitters is gold. But, you know, I find that models are being more vocal about, you know, what they want. But also it's about doing your research, knowing which agencies you're signing up with, looking at the contracts. A lot of people sign contracts and they don't read them.
That's true.
Also, it's important to look at the longevity and the consistency of a particular modeling agency. How long have they been in the industry?
Yes.
When models join this agency, how long do they stay? If you're seeing a place where a model comes and after 6 months they disappear, just know that's a red flag. You can also talk to other fellow models and get feedback from them. You can talk to models that are established and respected. But it's all about having perspective. It's almost, it's hand in hand with being an influencer. A lot of influencers, it comes down to different metrics, your followership, how many people you can reach, et cetera, et cetera. But when it comes to the fashion industry, you really need to have a agency that will champion for your models, that will fight for you guys. And, there's minimums.
Yeah, true.
And if you're a model that's out there that's freelance, just be knowledgeable about your industry and know what the standards are. But everyone starts somewhere, and we're still growing and we're still evolving as an industry. So, yes.
Thank you very much. That's a very good message. If you are a lady, you are there, you are looking for what to do in modeling your career, please don't miss this episode. So, Angela, talk about, you mentioned about beauty pageantry. 2025 was a very unique year for Kenya. We have seen so many happening in the beauty pageantry. By the way, I want to tell the viewers that Kenya is number one in the whole of Africa with many beauty pageantry, because every county has Miss. That is makes like Kenya has 47 Misses from 47 counties, plus Miss World, plus other. So Kenya is wow. So to you, 2025 was a very interesting. How did you see beauty pageantry? Who went outside? Who presented the Kenya? We saw Grace Ramutu went in India for Miss World. So to you, how was 2025 in general?
Wow. So, the pageant ecosystem is so diverse and wide. I will say probably the most consistent pageant platform in Kenya currently is Miss World Kenya. I think the franchise has celebrated 22 years so far under the Ashley's Kenya brand. And our queens are doing phenomenal. I think, this year we've crowned Ivy Teresa. She is a representative going to represent Kenya at the global stage for Miss World. And I would say not every single pageant platform has had a queen every single year. That could be due to global events that are happening. So you'll find pauses and gaps. But in between all those different years, there have been some of our queens that have really gone above and beyond. And they're always remembered for their legacy. We have one of our oldest Miss World Kenya, Cecilia Mwangi, who was crowned, I think, in 2005.
That's a longer time ago.
But she had one of the most famous Beauty with a Purpose projects, which was the anti-Jigga campaign. And from there, she went on to create a foundation around what she does. We've had people like Magdalene Cheruto, who went on to become Miss Africa at the Miss World stage. And she's gone on to work for Kenya Tourism Board. So I always see the pageant world being a launching pad to help you do greater things for the community. So whether it's representing the country as a global or cultural ambassador, whether it's creating an NGO or foundation that will help uplift a certain community, I would say the girls are winning because they're changing lives. They're creating impact. It's not just about looking beautiful or the glitz and the glam. It's about the legacy that you leave as a queen.
I agree. It's not about that beautiful. One man said, beauty, you cannot eat it, but action and activities you can see and you can feel. So I agree. I have seen many women here in Kenya go to international stage. They have a project and they're doing it very well. So to you, maybe look at the camera and give them an advice for those who are looking to enter in the beauty pageantry. What should they look? Give them an advice before we...
When it comes to pageants, one thing that you must remember is that pageants are not... they are not high fashion, let's say. Pageantry, you're more so graded heavily on the impact that you want to leave behind. We've had queens like, we've had a lot of queens focus on issues of mental health, maybe menstrual health education in schools.
And planned pregnancy.
Yeah, GBV issues. And it could be anything. It could be cancer awareness. But as a king or as a queen, what is that one message? What is that one issue that you want to highlight that you feel is not getting enough attention? And that's why Beauty with a Purpose is such a cornerstone of doing pageants. So you're using your beauty for influence of uplifting a community.
Yeah.
And so I would really say at the end of the day, as a king or queen, you're a servant of your community. You're not up on that stage because of yourself, but you're up on that stage because of the people in the community that believe in your mission and your vision that you have for your crown.
Oh, thank you very much. If you are following and listen this episode, this message is yours. So we talk about fashion. Look, 2025 was very interesting, by the way. We saw a bit of collaboration. To you, when you look at 2025, how was collaboration? We talk about designers with models, with model engagements. We talk about Tribal Chic is collaborating with Tribal Hotel to have a day. So how do you see collaboration is changing the fashion scene in, let's say, the performance in 2025? How did you, was it to your eyes?
I mean, collaboration is a beautiful thing. There's no need to try and recreate the wheel or try and do things that you're not specialized in. Even at this year's Tribal Chic, there was a lot of collaboration with maybe accessory designers and clothing designers, which was a beautiful merge. For example, we have Afro Wema, who collaborated with Gamani. And Gamani specializes in doing a lot of brass jewelry. And for the Afro Wema collection, they basically had a collection that represented the 4 elements of Earth. And so once they both merged their crafts together, it was, wow. It was amazing. So I got to be dressed by them and it all turned out really, really beautiful. But collaboration is great because you're helping uplift each other's platform. So whether that's a beauty brand coming in to, I will shout out Linton's, Linton's Beauty Academy. They're really, really great with collaborating with so many different fashion platforms. Their students will come in, they get really creative with the hair, with the makeup. And at the end of the day, you're being able to give these students real life world experience on a runway. And at the same time, the fashion platform gets the benefit of beauty by one of the best makeup brands in the country. And it's a win-win situation. That's how I see collaboration. It's a win-win situation.
Yeah, I agree. Collaboration is a win-win situation. And here I would just say, we mentioned about these upcoming fashion show organizers. If you collaborate, you will probably find some of the solution. You may look missing lighting. You find a company to collaborate. So I think collaboration is very key, and we wish you to collaborate to grow and develop made in Africa, made in Kenya in fashion. So we have seen digital presence, and many fashion brands are on digital and media. To you, when you look at 2025, how was the digital access? Do you see designers using digitalization to sell, to advertise? How did you see 2025 is the digital and access to the market with the designers?
I mean, digital is everything. Whether you're old school, whether you're an OG in the industry, whether you're an up-and-coming fashion designer, that is how you get discovered. The old way of doing things, okay, fine. But it's in terms of having, your Instagrams, your TikToks, your LinkedIns even, seeing is believing. So even when we're talking about collaboration, whether you're collaborating with a media personality, an influencer, someone that maybe has visibility, what I love seeing is a lot of collaboration between designers and personalities, or designers and brands, and making sure that it makes sense for both of you. Don't be doing things at expense of others, of trying to be a part of others' project, but make sure that whoever you collaborate, it aligns. What I love on Instagram now is you can do a collaboration post. So instead of just your followers seeing your products or your items, the person you've dressed, now you're getting their audience. Maybe the photographer that did the shoot, you're getting their audience. And that's how you get discovered. You never know where your work ends up. So you could be doing things right here in Nairobi, but now someone in London or Paris or New York sees your things and they're like, how can I get this? So at the end of the day, you must tell your story. So even if you're not good with social media like me, I'm not that great with social media, find someone else who is. Okay. Find someone to help you shine light on what it is that you do.
Yeah, actually I was going to interrupt. will you advise, because you see many upcoming fashion designers, when they start their business, the first landing page is Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. So will you advise a new fashion designer to focus on traditional way to reach customer, or to focus on the internet is expensive, you spend more money, airtime, time sitting. So will you advise a new designers to use this which channel to approach a client, traditional way or technology? So what will you advise designer to reach the big audience?
Honestly, I don't even know what the traditional way of reaching the audience is.
Traditional ways means like I can pick a phone, I can call you, or I can come to see you. I can come bring my clothes. Like, hey, Angela, this is my outfit. Would like it. So like,
I mean, the world is gone from analog to digital. It's either you get with it or get left behind. And also, I just find when you include digital in whatever it is that you do, you're just working smarter at the end of the day. I mean, that effort of now going down a calling list, or it's exhausting. You need all that energy to create. Use your energies for what you're really, really good at.
Yeah.
Let a professional maybe help you with the social media thing. If you don't have a budget to pay someone for social media, start where you can with what you have. The beauty of Instagram, it's free.
Yeah.
The beauty of TikTok, it's free. Until now, you want to get into the analytics and maybe pushing an ad and things like that. But allow yourself to be the artist. You don't have to wear every single hat. Yeah.
So thank you very much, Angela. Dear fashion lovers, enthusiasts, and businesses, thank you very much for following us and listening to this season 2, episode 1. We are coming back after this advertisement.
Africa is creating. Africa is innovating. And you are telling those stories. Made in Africa podcast spotlighted the designers, artisans, and entrepreneurs building something extraordinary. New episodes every week. Don't miss it. Made in Africa podcast. Listen now.
Greetings again. Welcome to Made in Africa podcast, season 2, episode 1. Angela, now let's focus on we are talking about 2025 review. Let's see what to expect in the 2026 fashion industry in Kenya. There are a lot. To you, what already do have seen many events happened. So what are you expecting as a fashion MC in the fashion industry? Oh, they already what you have already seen, but what are you expecting? Before you go into details of everything you expect.
Honestly, what I'm expecting is for us to be bigger and better at what we do. I'm expecting other fashion platforms to be more efficient, learn from other platforms, see their gaps, see their mistakes, things that maybe that they didn't do, and do it even better. I think we're all here to learn from each other.
Okay.
I think it's important to understand the front side of a fashion event from a consumer's point of view, but also from the back end, understanding things that designers need to make their experience very seamless, maybe things that models might need, your backstage team, understanding who are the good DJs to collaborate with when it comes to fashion music, et cetera, et cetera. But it's a team effort at the end of the day. So making sure that each person on your team is pulling their weight.
I love that you are saying we are all here to learn and grow together. So 2026, we can still see second hands are still coming in Kenya as many as they can. So to you, how do you see Kenya is going to manage second hand clothes?
I mean, that's always been a very controversial issue. Having come to Nairobi and experienced the secondhand clothing market, I understand why it's there. I understand why it exists. I mean, Nairobi, every day the cost of living is getting higher and higher. And would I rather go to like a department store inside of a mall and buy a t-shirt? Or would I rather just get something from a hawker that for the price of 1,000 bob, I can get 5 shirts that are quality? So, of course, I think when it comes to secondhand clothing, it's about access. A majority of Kenyans, they can afford mitumba, secondhand clothing, as opposed to going into a Mr. Price or a Woolworths. It's not economically favorable for most Kenyans, I would say. But on the flip side, there is a price to pay. The continent, Kenya at large, becomes a dumping site for a lot of foreigners just shipping their junk here and just dumping it. And I think now that's where we see problems, when there's not proper systems in place to regulate these secondhand clothings that we're getting in. Unfortunately, also as well, like, we want a lot more made in Kenya, but when it's easier to just buy a cheaper secondhand piece, then, are we building that that ecosystem for designers to thrive? I feel like a lot of designers feel like they thrive having their things exported, which is just the reality of right now. So yeah, when it comes to secondhand clothing, we need it, but then also we slowly need to shed it out.
You mentioned something about there is no proper system to manage second-hand clothes. To you, how do you think? Do you think is the lack of policy, or do government need the policy? What do you think is missing? We have a designer, as I said. We have a government. We have all institutions. So what is missing? And also, Kenya government and the Kenyans, they are ready to promote and support made in Kenya. We have seen, especially you are promoting made in Africa. So we have seen many Kenyans buying and supporting made in Kenya. So is it a policy? What is missing there to regulate second-hand management in Kenya?
I mean, I think it does boil down to government and policies that are in place. But understanding the issue 360, you can't just speak from a point of privilege and think, oh, everyone should buy made in Kenya. Everyone can't afford made in Kenya. And then we also can't just see everything from one side. On one side, dump sites for secondhand clothing, like if you're at Dandora, like you'll see it's a menace to that neighborhood. Like it's a menace to that society where things are just being dumped. Also the secondhand clothing market supports a lot of livelihoods. It kind of goes hand in hand with sustainable fashion, where you're not creating new things, but you're buying old things and giving them new life. So it's something where the conversation needs to continue. It needs to be seen 360 from both points of view, from your everyday Kenyan and also the people that we've put in leadership positions. What are they saying about this? What are they doing about it? Let's not just talk about the issue, but what are the actionable steps? So one platform I do appreciate is Eco Fashion Week Africa. They're really intentional about these conversations and activities, whether it's going to a beach and having a whole day of cleanup, cleaning up waste, whether they find old sandals, what. Also, encouraging their students that they mentor to upcycle old clothing. And you've seen people create careers out of this. So it's a very tricky issue. There's not one answer. I don't have the answers.
Okay. So, Angela, that is very right. It's a very interesting for second-hand. And actually, they are saying in Kenya, the big number of women who are into fashion, they are selling second-hands in Gikomba market. So what you are saying is true. You cannot find a solution without thinking of like a turning, the way you call it.
Yeah, a roundtable, really involving all stakeholders. I mean, not only is it women, but a lot of youth that are in the secondhand clothing business. We like to call it vintage, not just secondhand.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've seen young people that are actually professional shoppers. So they'll come to you, they'll ask you, okay, what kind of look do you want? And literally, you pay them to go and shop on your behalf, whether it be going to Toi or Gikomba or wherever. They thoughtfully craft different looks for you that are affordable, that are, upcycled and whatnot. So yeah, man, that's...
So I agree with you. And if you are listening and following our today's episode, second-hand is a big issue for Africa, not only for Kenya, but also you can do something. Everyone can do something. If you mentioned about Dandora, if you have a farm near Dandora, what you do? You have to now think of protect your farm, because actually you find second-hand clothes, they're everywhere in our farms. So it's still a big problem, as you mentioned. I hope the Kenya governments and Kenyans in general will find solution to this problem of second-hand. And looking at 2026, again, we talked about modeling and the beauty pageant. As you who have been, of course, I must say, you work with the models. When you look at 2026, there is what happened already. You can take us a bit of Nairobi Fashion Week and Tribal Chic. How do you see modeling performing in 2026 comparing it to event you already have been so far?
I think it's great. Every year I'm seeing new faces. There's a platform called Africa's Next Top Model, which is put on by ISIS, I believe. And they're always trying to scout for new talent. And I think at the end of the day, it's great that we're not just having the same face, but we're seeing a diversity of different looks, ethnicities, sizes. And I think things are getting better. I'd like to believe so. I know the winner of Africa's Next Top Model, they're actually awarded $5,000, which I think is a great launching pad for a model to be able to invest in themselves, whether it be getting a lookbook for themselves, whether it's, being able to just invest in their social media, their ability to have like maybe a trainer, just investing in our models so that they have the opportunity to level up. Because what I find is a lot of models can't just survive on modeling alone. We have very, very few models that have been able to use their fashion journey as a platform to make a full-time living. But much respect to those that have figured out the formula. And, maybe those that have participated in pageants, they've come out of that pageant system, maybe not winning the crown per se, but they are winning because they use that platform maybe to launch a business, whether that business is creating a modeling agency, whether that business is now getting into the tourism world, maybe becoming a designer. I've seen a lot of models transition from being models to designers. So the experience is all about what you make it at the end of the day.
Thank you very much. And we are seeing very many fashion shows already. Tribal Chic passed, Nairobi Fashion Week passed. What should we expect in 2026 in terms of fashion weeks and the fashion events? Maybe tell us a little bit of what already passed in 2026, and then what were you expecting? Your expectation is from Tribal Chic this year was the same, or Nairobi Fashion Week was the same, and then what should we expect to the others events that are coming in 2026?
I would say every fashion experience, it doesn't matter how many editions they have, every experience is so different. The audience is different, the designers are different, the themes are different. In terms of Nairobi Fashion Week, which is probably one of the first fashion events to happen, it usually happens in January. I think at least the organization came off a bit more seamless. I really loved the VIP experience that they created. The gift hampers that they had for their guests. That was really, really nice. And I think, with each passing edition, you always improve, you always get better. With Tribal Chic, like I said, they're so grandeur. This year, they were celebrating their 15th edition of Tribal Chic. And it is one of the biggest and longest running fashion shows in East Africa. One thing I also really do admire with Tribal Chic is that it's not about established designers only. They do a lot of mentorship for up-and-coming designers. So they featured At Odds, which is a brand established by Howie. And he was also one of the products of the Creative DNA program run by the British Fashion Council. So he was featured, so they're able to pay his designer fees to enable him to participate in Tribal Chic, which was nice. In terms of upcoming events, I know most likely there'll probably be Kenya Fashion Week. We also have the UFF Labels fashion show, which usually is put on by the Asian community in Kenya. So you'll find a lot of designers coming from Mumbai to showcase their clothing here in Nairobi. I know there's Eco Fashion Week, which I would say one thing about that's really unique about Eco Fashion Week, they actually do 7 days of activity. So, which I think
and you're expecting the same thing in 2026?
Yeah, they like doing a lot of panel days. They've done a panel discussion with women in fashion put on by Sister Speaks Global. They've done a student fashion day at the Light Fashion School, which they collaborate with a lot. So whether it's having students on the runway, whether it's hosting a fashion panel at their school, they have a beach cleanup day where, they go to the coastal region and they actually get hands-on and have people cleaning up. Let's not just talk about making the environment better. Let's actually do better. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what they have in store differently. And their theme is always no new clothes, which I think is such a challenge because we're like, we're in this digital age where you're like, you can't wear the same outfit twice, but they promote the idea of no new clothing.
Actually, that's in No New Clothes. One day I was filming their show and I was just having a drink outside. I met this, it was a white man who was in the show. Then he's like, some of the clothes I can see, they are recycled. Then he asked me a question. If it's you, do you trust that denim correction is clean? I'm like, yeah, it's clean. He's like, but I have been told some of these, they go pick up around, they wash them, and then they repurpose and do something. So to you, when you look at recycling, sustainability behind the second hands, and do you really believe no new clothes on Runaway is catchy?
I do, because it's like, it kind of stops you in your tracks, because already, anytime you hear of any event, it doesn't matter if it's a launch, a product launch, a business launch, a music show, whatever, you're already thinking like, okay, what next? Because we live in this digital age where everyone has to be seen, your outfit has to be seen. And when someone's telling you no new clothes, you're like, oh, okay. Yeah. And I mean, who made it the rule in the law that you can't be seen in an outfit more than once? I know ladies, I feel like ladies have more of that pressure. I don't think the fellas really deal with that pressure, but especially if you're a fashion personality or someone that does fashion reviews, I feel like the audiences out there are way more critical on you. But I think it's a great challenge. And I also think it makes you more conscious about the small day-to-day decisions that you're doing as an individual to either contribute to the issue of fashion waste, or are you consciously becoming more aware of what you're doing and how you're contributing to the issue of fashion waste and fast fashion and all those different things can get really deep with it,
Yeah, I agree. So, and I agree with you. You are expecting a lot in 2026. You have already Tribal Chic, Nairobi Fashion Week. Now, Eco Fashion Week is coming.
There's also Kibera Fashion Week.
Oh, Kibera Fashion Week.
Founded by Avido. And one thing I love about Avido is the fact that, he's born and raised in Kibera, but nice. Basically also shedding a brighter light on Kibera and highlighting the talent of models, creatives, and also Avido is also a professor. I didn't realize this, but one day I was just talking to him and he was telling me how he actually goes to talk about fashion in Africa at different universities in the US. Nice. And I think that's amazing. Where, Kibera, you think about the stereotype of Kibera, the largest slum in Central and East Africa, but there's so much beauty in Kibera. They produce their show in Kibera, in the heart of Kibera. They're designers, they're runway models, everything. So I'm yet to attend, but I'm looking forward to actually attending Kibera Fashion Week this year.
Oh, so congratulations to Kibera Fashion Week and everyone who is doing good so far. And congratulations to Tribal Chic and Nairobi Fashion Week. According to the MC who has been emceeing your event, she's confirming your event was very good. And we hope if you went if you were an audience or fashion lover, you have been there, we hope also you enjoyed. And now, I know many fashion lovers and enthusiasts, they have something in mind. They want to know a few questions about Angela before we head to our conclusion to our today's episode. So, Angela, someone who doesn't know about you, describe yourself. Who is Angela? Not being MC.
A very simple lady, very laid back, someone who loves to eat. I love promoting Made in Africa designers. I love collaborating with designers. So if you're an up-and-coming designer, if you're a fashion brand out there and you're looking to collaborate, definitely holla at me. So
I know you supporting upcoming fashion designers, and if you are watching, this is the person. So, Angela, what is your favorite food?
My favorite food, okay, it's nothing. I'm very now in that sense. I'm not that exciting. I really love diavola pizza. That's probably my favorite food. But I also love ugali. Ugali with some nice sukuma and some nyama. Like, I'm good. So I'm very basic in that sense. So those are two of my favorite foods.
Okay, in terms of fashion, what is your favorite color or colors?
I think when it comes to the melanin skin, we look good in anything, but my favorite color in general and my favorite color to wear is yellow. I love the color yellow. I think it represents my personality. I'm a very optimistic person. I love color because I think I'm a very reserved person, but my fashion brightens up my personality. And yeah, so I really love yellow. That's my favorite color.
Okay, and what's your favorite sport?
Basketball. I love basketball. I played basketball for many years, but I love basketball. I think it's a great workout because it's a continuous sport, and it's a great workout. You get everything. You get the cardio, you get the squats in, and you might get a few bumps and bruises, but it's one of my favorite sports to play.
There are people who sees you in the fashion shows and they look your personality, and some people I've met many, they like how you help and you collaborate. So if someone wants, like especially women who wants to do what you are doing, to be MC, there is a lot of challenges within being MC, especially when you are a beautiful woman, because they said there are men who are looking for you, and the men we are very good to make you develop or make you, So what would you advise, would you share to a lady who is there who feel like, I want to be fashion MC, I want to be like Angela Wambui, but how can she achieve that dreams?
My goodness. When it comes to being an MC, you just have to start somewhere, whether it's starting at family functions, hosting things at your house, hosting things for your friends. I think we all have to pay our dues. And sometimes you don't even know you want to be an MC. I didn't know that I want to be an MC. But I ended up being selected to host one of Pinky Gelani's runway shows that she used to do back in the day called Fab Expo. She's like, can you be my MC? I'm like, I've never MC'd before. And sometimes it takes someone seeing something in you that you don't see in yourself. Okay. And I'm also, as much as I yap a lot and I talk on a mic, I'm extremely shy. I'm a very shy person by nature. But there's something about being on stage that allows you to really open up and be bold and be a different character. So I started on that platform and it just became a domino effect. Some people are like, oh, I like your style of emceeing. So one person referred me to another. And you really just have to practice your craft, be yourself. I think it's really, really important to be yourself. And I think the more and more you do it and the more and more you MC, the more and more you do a bit of public speaking, you'll find your niche. You'll find where you fit best. Some people are phenomenal concert MCs. It takes a lot of hype, energy, dance, movement. You will not find me on a stage doing a concert.
Yeah, you just be who you are.
Some are really good with corporate MCing. Moderation of, maybe political conversations that requires you to have a lot of background, maybe in journalism or really understanding current events. There's some that would be really good with moderating fashion, hosting fashion shows. So also just understanding what your strength is and what your interest is. When you have a certain interest in a particular field, it makes it that much easier. So yeah, understand yourself, have a level of self-awareness, and in anything you do, even if if you're emceeing something that you're maybe not so well versed at, do your research. We have all the information at our fingertips. Do your research, and the more information you have on a particular event, the better the outcome will be.
Oh, thank you very much. So if you want to be MC and you are inspired, this is the message. So dear fashion lovers, enthusiasts and businesses, you are heading to the end of today's episode. So Angela, we talk about fabric, pricing, and the made in Kenya. What should we expect in 2026 in terms of fabric? Are we getting new fabrics? The pricing of the clothes, are we getting more? You mentioned Nairobi's life. The life in Nairobi is getting more expensive. So what should we expect in terms of new fabrics, pricing, and made in Kenya in general in 2026?
I'm a kitenge addict, so you will always see me looking for the latest and newest kitenge because I love color, I love patterns, I love things that are very loud. So in that sense, I feel like the price of kitenge in the market is pretty consistent and hasn't changed too much. But now again, depending on, looking at factors like the war and things, and gas prices might change, that might affect, transport of certain materials to the country. So we might expect, some slight increase in things that are being imported. But other than that, I don't know, like fabrics, there's always something new coming out. So just looking for the new trends and what's the latest.
Okay. So thank you very much. And dear fashion lover enthusiast, we hope you had a very good time with this conversation. This today's episode, which was talk about Kenya fashion industry in 2025 and what to expect in 2026. So we hope you have had a very, very good time. And me and Angela, we wanted to bring this, so we hope you enjoyed. If there is something you think we forget to bring in, you are most welcome to go in our chat and write down. We can talk about next time. So Angela, is there anything you would like to add on, advice, something you want to say to the audience, fashion lovers?
To all my fashion lovers out there, let's keep celebrating our homegrown talent. Let's continue to build Nairobi, Kenya as a fashion and business hub. And let's continue telling our story all together. So, tag that designer, tag that fashion platform. Let's continue supporting each other and growing our industry collectively.
Thank you very much, Angela. It was so wonderful to have you in today's episode, season 2. Dear fashion lovers, enthusiasts, and businesses, thank you for being with us. See you next time in season 2, episode 2, with your host, Celestine Awirima, and we hope sometime soon we'll bring you, Angela, back, and I know you will love to have you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So next time.